welcome to DPI Presents. I am so excited to have with us today Sheryl. Sheryl is an incredible human,
Hmm.
and she has a book called It Starts with Joy. And what I loved about this book so much was just the opportunity to be able to talk to her about it. But Sheryl, just tell us a little bit about who you are and the impact that you have in the world.
Oh my goodness, the impact I have in the world. Listen to that. That is so cool. I love that.
Mhm.
So, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I really like when we talked about it, I was like, oh, it's such an easy yes. I love your spirit and the work that you do. And so it's an honor and a pleasure for me to be here. So I need to say that. So I have been, in the corporate world for over 35 years. And about a year and a half ago, I made a decision to go out and do my own thing. My last gig, I was a head of enterprise learning for a large insurance organization. And now I am the founder and CEO of EdenAnthony Elite Talent Solutions, which sounds like a really long name, but it's named after my dad, he's been gone for over 25 years, but he's very much still a part of my life every single solitary day. And so we are just here as an organization helping other organizations to put joy at the center of the work that they do so that they can unleash their potential and its potential that they already know that they have. And so, yeah, and so this book is all a part of the work that we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I love when I met you, you were just kind of launching into, being an entrepreneur. But
Yeah.
for our listeners that are going to be listening to this, I think one thing that I was immediately drawn to is that you talked about fear and making decisions with fear and the leadership with fear as kind of this engine. Can you
Yeah.
tell us about what that looks like when you are leading with fear?
It's a great question because when you are leading with fear, so which is different than being led by fear, right? So when you are leading with fear, I find that most of the time that fear is coming from like that initial fear within yourself, right? So in the book, I talk about a toxic boss that I had the pleasure of working with, and her name was Janet. And Janet very much led from fear. But I also know that if I'm sitting and putting myself into Janet's shoes, I know that she was fearful. Everything that she did to those who were in her care, the toxicity that she displayed on a daily basis, Rosalind, she would describe as things that were happening to her, above her. So usually when someone is leading from fear, it's not always the case, but if you scratch below the surface, if you are leading from fear, you are feeling that fear within yourself, and that fear drives how you interact with people, the decisions that you make, how you feel on a daily basis when you come into work and then when you get home. Do you know what I'm saying? And so it's in there, and it doesn't feel good. And people who lead from that place have a really hard time um managing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think, thank you for saying that. I think one thing that, as I was reading the book, and I think we all can relate to this Janet, and I loved how you said, we'll just call her
Well,
Janet, right?
yeah,
But I
not her name.
immediately resonated with her. And whether you are in a corporate environment and there's a Janet that you're reporting to, or you're a business owner and there is a Janet, be a customer or client, we can all resonate with this Janet type personality that's you know, leading from fear and this leadership that she has that's very fearful. I
Yeah,
think I think about that personally and professionally, right? Because if I have children and I am fearful about, oh my gosh, what happens if then I have these tight restraints. But as you made this,
absolutely.
yeah, as you made this decision, it's interesting that Janet, you talked about how each business owner, how you started to sense that someone was trying to have these same behaviors, and you're like, I'm not doing it. And so, how do you know when, okay, I can lean into this energy or I need to retreat from this type of energy?
Oh, well, for me, I'm always going to retreat. And so a secret, and I don't talk about this too much in the book. I mean, I think I glaze over it a little bit. But during that dark time with Janet, had met her before. And I thought to myself, whew, like I sensed that energy. I sensed that darkness in her, that fear, like lead from fear. And I was like, ooh, I would never want to work for anyone like that. Right. And then I found myself in a position where I didn't have a role, right? There was a sweeping layoff that was taking place. And this was an opportunity for me to, stay with the organization. And I thought to myself, like, okay, like I had that kind of like crick in my neck, but at the same time, I've got like a livelihood to support. And I'm like, I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to go for it.
Mhm.
Right. And so I'm sharing it to say that there was never a chance to like lean into that type of leadership. I always felt repelled by it. And then I braced myself for the journey because I had a feeling that it was going to be bumpy. When I realized that, okay, what I was concerned about was the actual truth, I tried really, really hard to bring like that happy side of me forward. Figured if she got to see me as a person, really as a person, that, the strife that I was feeling on the professional side would subside. But she was very, very good at compartmentalizing friendship from work. And so ultimately at the end of the day, it just did not work.
Yeah, it was interesting as I'm reading the book. There's this calculus. Every day I felt that you could feel the heart palpitations and you're very raw in your book. It starts with joy. How exhausting was it for you to constantly kind of match or regulate based on how Janet showed up?
Yeah, it was extremely difficult. It was hard for me personally and then physically with my MS.
Mhm.
And don't get me wrong, I was diagnosed with MS about 14 years before I encountered Janet. So it wasn't, but what happened was I was managing it well, managing stress well. And then when I was in this particular situation, it was just a bit out of control. And so I had a really, really hard time regulating. And what I tried to do too, Roz, is I tried to it was a pylon because not only was I protecting myself, but I was protecting my team.
Mm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like she was coming, like my team was suffering from this as well. And for those who know me from, my days as a corporate leader, like I'm a mama bear, right? Like I protect my team, right? To the nth degree. I will throw my body in front of a train for my team. And so I did that a lot. And so I was taking in a lot of body blows trying to protect um what I mean protect folks who were really just doing a really great job just doing what they knew was right. Talented group of a talented team I
Yeah.
had at that time.
So, for people who might not know, MS, yes, you talk very openly about multiple sclerosis. Can you let our audience know exactly what that is and how it impacted your day to day?
Yeah, multiple sclerosis, like I'm no neurologist, even though I've been dealing with it forever, but it's an autoimmune disease of your central nervous system. And it causes basically some of your nerve endings have lesions, right? And those lesions um, create disconnects between like what your brain is telling your body to do and what your body actually does. And so for me, when I was initially diagnosed, I had a few lesions in my brain and then it went to my spinal cord. I'm very, very blessed because at the end of the day, I'm here, I'm healthy, I have complete mobility because I mean I have a friend who's in a wheelchair as a result of having EMS. She was a police officer at one time. And so, but because you'll never think about how much your brain controls every single solitary thing that you do. We just think about arms, legs, organs, and that kind of stuff, but it controls everything. And so, ironically enough, we know stress causes cancer, right? So stress has a direct impact on multiple sclerosis. And it's one of the things that anyone with MS knows that you have to control that. You have to manage stress levels. And so it was my neurologist who was like, Cheryl, you got to figure out some sort of way to manage the stress that you are feeling as a result of this work situation because it was making me sick. I was getting tremors, having problems sleeping, all different types of like numbness in my legs. Like my MS was like flaring left and right in all these different kinds of ways. But yeah, so anyway, but MS, to answer your original question, autoimmune disease that attacks your nervous system.
Oh, I think when I read that, I thought about how many leaders, how many employees, whether it's business owners, how there are so many life changes that you navigate through as a business leader, and how,
Yeah.
you needed to, manage this one part of your life. And yet here you would kind of be thrown into this explosive environment on a daily basis. And I absolutely understand protecting your team. Yeah, I was that
You're
type
a
of
mama
leader.
bear too.
Yes, absolutely.
I know
I
you
was,
have that in you.
yes, yes. So I think when I reached out to you was when I read about joy being an operating system. And you
Yes.
really talk about that joy is not fluff, it is strategic. That is where I wanted you to really help our audience understanding that joy as an operating system. I had never heard that, but you're like, it's the engine in which your leadership should thrive.
Yeah.
Tell us, Cheryl.
Tell us. Well, I say in the book because I'm an Apple phone, I'm an iPhone person, right? And so I say that joy is the operating system, happiness is the app. Because a lot of times people get the two words, they think that they're interchangeable and they're not. And when I really sat and thought about like what does joy mean to me, that ultimate, that foundational feeling that sustains you, right? And being in integrity with yourself, being in alignment with yourself, and then acting from that way, even when someone cuts you off or someone knocks coffee out of your hands or the dog messes up in a place, anything that you could think of that would make you unhappy, the operating system is still buzzing below. And that's the reason why I say that Joy is my COO, right? Chief Operating Officer, not the CEO, because the COO knows where all the bodies are buried. COO is the like in a C-suite is the life and blood of that organization. And so I was like, it's gotta be deeper than the CEO, right? It's keeping me running. And when you have the ability to lead from that place, then it changes everything for you and for the folks who are in your care. Because then I'm seeing you, if we're leading together, we're working together, and I'm joy is my foundation, then I'm seeing you as a person first. And I'm aligned with myself as a human being, and therefore I'm aligned with you, Roz, as a human being. And then I can lead and move, make decisions, and create environments from that place.
Mm. So good.
Mhm.
Yeah, not seeing me as just someone who's able to perform or someone who is just a metric, someone who just has a dollar value in regards of a labor cost, right?
Exactly.
But seeing the true person, the authentic person that I am. There's one quote in your book on page 36 that says, awareness has to come first because you can't heal what you're still calling normal. And it made me think
Mhm.
about when you are in a mall and they have that you are here. Like many of us know where we want to go. All right, I want to go get this pair of shoes from, brand X, right? But
Mhm.
until you know you are here, there's no way you can map where you're going. So the
Right.
fact that you said this awareness has to come and it you can't heal what you're still calling normal. I,
Yeah.
the most dangerous place to be is unaware.
Yes, exactly. And what's so interesting is that since the book came out, right? So it came out a few months ago. I've had a few leaders come up to me in my network questioning their leadership because they weren't aware. But reading the book has them reflecting on like, how do I show up as a leader? Am I aware? Right? Do I know? Do I need healing
Mhm.
with regard to how I lead? And I'm like, yes, this is the whole thing. This is why I wrote the book. I want leaders to start questioning how they lead, right? How do you lead yourself? And then how do you lead others? And it's not just about leaders, the proverbial leader, corporate leader, etc. I say you lead from every seat. So how do you lead your family?
Absolutely.
How do you lead in your community, right? Your churches, your synagogues, wherever, whatever it is that you practice. How are you showing up as a human leader? And are you leading from that place, that inner place?
Yeah, that to me was like because there's so many things that we call normal, right? And until we have kind of this mirror that is in front of us. But I feel that is the work that you do in regards to helping others become aware of their leadership style, the way that they're showing up, and providing them tools that, if they want to change and
Hmm.
realize that, hey, I've been calling this normal, and it's actually dysfunction or it's fear, or that
Yes.
you're able to help leaders through that, aren't you?
Yes, but it all starts with conversation,
Mhm.
right? That's why awareness is the first step of what I call the joy shift method. Because if you're not even willing to be aware
Mhm.
of where you sit today, how are you going to possibly move forward and change it and go through, the other steps that are a part of the method? But it all starts with conversation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is the method that you have. You've trademarked it, and you have tools that are able to help those that are reading your book. And I love the practicality of that. It's interesting going back to fear. When you said fear dresses up as excellence, I was just
Mm,
recently in Puerto Rico speaking for a women's event, and
nice.
I said that it was all about decision fatigue and how fatigue often masks itself as I'm busy. So when you
Yeah.
said fear dresses up as excellence, right? Again, that's where that normalcy comes in because I'm just being excellent. I'm hitting my numbers. I'm a
Yeah,
performer, right?
absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And because the thing is, like, don't get me wrong, in that dark season, we kicked ass. We
Hmm.
got everything done that we need to get done. But, my friend, there were bodies everywhere, right? So you can say, like, you know what? Okay, yes, fear got this done. I used to work for another fabulous leader who said the only way I can get folks to do what I need them to do is to ride them hard. This is also the same person that told me that she loved leadership, it's just the people that she can't stand, so it's so crazy. It's so crazy. But the flip side of that is, what if you led from joy? Could you imagine that you might have gotten everything done, the team performed, but what could you have accomplished? If they were, I mean, what would be accomplished if folks were able to be creative? If you create a space where they could be coming to you and not afraid to say, I made a mistake, or I know you said do it this way, but I thought of a different way that will make it faster and better. What could you have accomplished if it wasn't about you and your definition of excellence, and it was about your team and what you would accomplish together? You won't know. You'll never know,
Yeah.
right?
Cheryl, you are.
Ross.
Here's another quote directly from the book. Um, that's the real cost of comfort, man. You stay in your seat, but piece by piece, you disappear inside your own leadership. You still deliver, just as we were talking about, you still show up, but joy, the real kind, goes quiet. It's not gone, just waiting for you to remember it. So, I
Mm-hmm.
want you to speak directly to the person in our audience that is sitting in that seat of comfort. They know they don't like it to feel uncertain, even though that's the only constant we have is this uncertainty and this change. And piece by piece, they're starting to disappear. And they might be starting to recognize this as we are talking. What is
Mm-hmm.
the compelling case that you will say to that individual to get them to know that they're worthy of being able to have joy as their COO? Speak directly to them.
Yeah. So, I had to say this to myself. What you do in your work is not who you are. It's not who you are as a person. You have to get back to the human being who is in, who is everything, right? The whole entire package. And sit down and be really, really honest, really honest with yourself and put yourself first. Because what I find a lot of times, I was talking about me in that quote. That was me disappearing. The joy was still there, but piece by piece I was disappearing. And I had the same conversation what I'm saying to you is what I had to say to myself. It's the oxygen mask. I keep talking about it, right? When you get on a plane, take care of yourself first so that you can take care of others. A lot of times we are so concerned about everybody else, not recognizing that if we were to put ourselves first, we will be able to take care of everyone else around us. So have a really strong, honest conversation with yourself, journal, pray, meditate, do whatever works for you. Lie to everybody else, but don't lie to yourself. We're here on this planet to love. Love ourselves first, and then that creates a space to love everybody else, and whatever that means to you.
Yeah, I
That's
love
what I had
that.
to do. I had to do that, Roz.
Mhm. So good. Um, I am so thankful that you have found this freedom, but you didn't stop there, that it starts with joy is now a reality. I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, she's like written a book. And um, I highly recommend this for all those that are viewing this, no matter if it's day, evening, or afternoon. I was able to read it in 24 hours. I think you will be able to read it in 24.
It's
It
small on purpose.
it's small, it is mighty, it is worth the read. We're all leaders, whether we are leading ourselves, we're leading others, right? We
Yep.
are a leader of leaders. Like we are all leading. And so to know that joy can be this business strategy, I want you to tell our audience how they can stay in touch with you, follow your work and your impact that you're having for this moment in history.
Oh, wow. Sure. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, of course, on LinkedIn, Cheryl Raphael Whitaker. If you want to check out the book, you can go to itstartswithjoy.com or find it on Amazon. And as we were talking about it before, that this year I'm dedicating and challenging myself to doing 100 talks about joy. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm going to like bookstores, churches, organizations, like whatever in any way possible, podcasts to talk about joy and this perspective of joy. I am happy to. And the last thing I'll share is that I have a live morning show that's going to be starting. It's going to be every Wednesday from 8:30 to 9 o'clock Eastern time, where we'll be talking about joy, about fear losing and joy winning.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for this time. I know that we are just wrapping up our first month of 2026. And so, for all of those that are listening, it's never too late to really start assessing where you are. And again, there is, it starts with joy.com. The ability for you to be able to, you got to get the book first and then kind of understand the method and really start evaluating where you are. And you start where you are, that you are here
Yeah.
is very helpful on your road of understanding where you're going. You got to know where you start. So, Cheryl, thank you. You are joyful. Like I
Oh,
understand it at such a cellular level, but truly, when I get to be in your presence, it just radiates joy. And I just love the
oh,
fact that
thank
that is
you.
the engine in which you move about the earth, because it's infectious. So
Oh, thank
thank
you.
you for being with
Thank you
us.
for having me.
We'll have all your information in our description so that everyone who is watching will be able to, uh, yeah, be able to follow you and just truly be blessed by your presence and your words. So thank
Oh,
you.
thank you
Thank you
so
for
much,
being here.
Rosalind. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Enjoyed every second.
Yeah. So whether you're watching this, be well and stay warm.